Being together apart for the long haul can begin to erode our souls. Every time we check the headlines, it can be a bleak, fearful future. Today we talked to Dr. Charity-Mika Woodard, who coordinates the art education program at Pittsburg State University in Pittsburg, Kansas, where she will uncover the power of art and how we can change our narratives to find what's most important. Thank you for being here as we articulate what matters most, so we can find our strength as we are processing how during this time we can express hope. We are with Dr. Charity-Mika Woodard, MFA, EdD, who coordinates the art education program at Pittsburg State University in Pittsburg, Kansas. She is a member of the National Art Education Association, and her research is focused on the power of art and how artists of any age can use art to express their feeling on social issues through activist art. Dr. Charity, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so here's my question. Why do you do art?
I love this question about why humans make art. And I was thinking about that this last couple of weeks while in quarantine, like, why is art so important to us? Like, I love art, and I'm so fortunate that I get to talk about art every single day. A lot of people do not get that. Sometimes art is a hobby that they put on the side and then they go to their 8-to-5 job. And here I get that as part of my life. For me, why I create art is it's really good for me. It's good for my soul to be able to create art. I am a maker, so I am an artist, and so sometimes in times of crisis, we go back to our roots. And so I've been making things as well, because I go back to that maker sort of root that I have.
Why do you feel we need to create at this time?
I think it's great for everyone, even if you don't consider yourself an artist or a maker, to be creating art at this time, because art at its very core is communication. So it is a way that you can communicate. And I work with visual arts, but when I talk about the arts, I'm not just talking about the visual arts. So I think everyone should be making art to help express themselves. So you should be dancing it out or singing it out or painting it out, whichever one of those that you feel more comfortable with. I think art is a really great thing at this time because it is a distraction. We have so much going on. There's stuff on the news, there's stuff in our schools, there's family stress, there's all the stress going on around us, and taking some time out to make art for ourselves is that great thing. That's something that we can do for that hour or 2 hours, maybe every single day or every other day, that is just for us. I personally look forward to it. I look forward to going into my studio and having that time to create.
Have you always been doing art? Like, is it something that is kind of within you? I know that you used to draw on your walls as a middle school student. Have you always been, that?
Yes, I have. I think that I came out of the womb as an artist. I come from a long line of makers. My grandmother was a potterer, so I loved hanging out with her and being able to paint some of her ceramics. My mother's a seamstress, so she was always down at her sewing machine. That humming sound of the sewing machine is still very, very soothing to me. But I started painting on my walls in middle school, and I started designing clothes and painting on different things, probably inspired by, Pretty in Pink, that movie, or Punky Brewster, or like, I'm a huge fan of 80s sitcoms, like My Two Dads. Like, that show was way ahead of its time, but I loved it. So I just wanted my outside world to kind of match what I felt my inside creativity was.
Mm.
So whether it be like a funky outfit or my walls to have like the skyline of New York, even though I lived in Kansas, like I wanted just to have that expression. And God bless my parents who were so nice to me that they this devoted a wall in my room, and I could paint it, and I could do murals, and I could basically do anything that I wanted to in there.
That's cool. So culturally, with the family, they were really encouraging of trying all of this idea of art, and so you were able to kind of do that, which is
Absolutely. Very supportive family.
that's very cool. Where have you found hope in expression and in art?
I think this conversation is really great. We had this conversation a little while later, and I'm seeing a couple people that I am familiar with. I see their faces on this Zoom meeting, and I think that is really very encouraging. Like that's very hopeful to me. I love hanging out with artists and expressive people that are really excited. Designers, graphic designers, theater people, anyone who's doing really cool things, it really helps inspire me. That community, I think, is really important. And so I've been hanging out with who I consider my art teacher tribe,
Mhm.
even if it's via Zoom, to try to inspire them to continue to build up that community. That's probably one of my favorite parts of being an artist is the artist community that then I'm a member of.
Okay, so you've been building the community of kind of expression, and what is that community doing right now for you? I mean, what are they doing?
That community is inspiring me with so many ideas. This is a time, it's like a buffet of so many ideas. We have these different Facebook groups of art teachers, pre-service teachers, other artists that are sharing great ideas. I know the teaching world to be like this, that they're very caring and sharing. Whenever I've gone to a fellow teacher, speaking directly of art teachers, but whenever I've gone to a fellow teacher and I've said, oh, I really like this project, I really like this idea, I want to use this with my class, they are so willing to share. They're like, here's my lesson plan, here's my idea, we should do this at a retreat. It's like, I can teach you how to do these things. And that is so great. Like that really gives me a lot of joy for my future art teachers that are going to be part of this community. Also, I'm just sharing with my fellow teachers just to remind them like, hey, we're makers. Are you guys going out and finding letters in a tree stump? Are you looking at the color of the sky today? Are you creating and making something? Have you tried this? So I encourage them to do that. They are also definitely encouraging me.
You're creating this buffet of possibilities. You know, it's giving you a way to begin to interact with your world. Wow. Okay, so this is a really difficult time. We need to process COVID-19. Have you done that? And what have you done to do that? How do you do it?
I know the answer that you're probably looking for, and that I made this huge colossal painting, like Picasso's Guernica. Like I have not done that. I, as an artist, sort of feel a lot of pressure that in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, I'm supposed to emerge with like 20 new paintings and a hot body. But that's, that's not happening. So, you know, like, did I do that? No. But am I doing some other things? Am I going to my studio? Am I practicing what I preach to others about being a maker? Have I done little joyful activities to try to keep myself in the creativity mindset? Absolutely. And I think for me, like that's enough.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I had talked a little bit about them. I'm just going to turn you around. So yesterday I was making coffee paintings. So I have
Ooh.
this thing coming up about painting with unconventional ideas. So this is sort of what I got going on here. Um, I have these paintings of coffee. I've done a couple weavings. I have a very messy studio, so I'm not going to show it all to you, but I wanted to show you a little bit. And trust me, there's a whole bunch of coffee paintings that ended up in the trash. They did all not go well. And I'll tell you, I'll be truly honest with you all. I was trying to do a coffee video that was sped up for Instagram, and I'm not really great with Instagram, but I'm giving it a try, trying something new. So I was doing these coffee paintings, and it takes like an hour to dry each layer in between. And I was trying to do this video, so I got out my hair dryer and I was trying to dry it. And you probably can guess what happened, but I did not. Like it just spider webbed all over the place. Like, and I was using instant coffee and the grounds went all over the place. Like it was a complete mess. It was a rookie mistake. I should have known better.
So you're using you're not just using, you know, the paints and everything that you bought. You're using you're kind of exploring new types of mediums. Tell me what you're doing with coffee. How do you do that?
Okay, so I was thinking a lot about my students. So I teach pre-service art education students, so they're college students. We canceled class, so we immediately took our classes online. So some of those students did not have time to grab all their materials from school. I tried to prepare some gift bags for them of some art materials. Now I was very fortunate growing up because we had art supplies. They were scattered all over the place, but I could go and I could gather some scissors and construction paper and markers. But I know not everyone's house has those things in it. So I was thinking of some stuff that my students could do if they did not have any art supplies. So what I did for them, because I want to give them some autonomy in choosing some things, that I made a choice board. So I made a choice board and it has 9 different choices, and we have 5 more weeks of the semester. So each week they have to choose one thing from that choice board to do. I thought that was really great because sometimes they don't want to do some of those things. So here they can say no to 4 of those options and they can pare it down to the 5. Also, we live in Kansas. So today it's like 80 degrees and it's beautiful and you could go for a walk. The next day it's going to rain and be 50 degrees. So sometimes it's conducive to go out in the world, pick up some sticks and rocks, and other times you need to stay home, kind of snuggle in and do some painting at home. So first off, there was this choice board. The second thing from that is unconventional materials. So I was thinking of things that created paint. So if people did not have watercolor paint, what else could you use?
Yeah.
So I've always heard the stories of you can use coffee to paint, you can use tea, you can use beet juice. I think some of us have seen some of these videos on YouTube where they're dyeing fabric with onions and beets and stuff. And I just had never had time to actually, you know, do that. So I decided I was going to try it. I painted with some coffee. I just had instant coffee, but also I realized at my house, like I could make some extra strong brewed coffee. I have espresso, so I need to try all 3. Tea, Kool-Aid, turmeric, paprika. There was a whole bunch of different things that I was sort of experimenting with. That's just not the norm of like food color. Food coloring, of course, works really great. That's basically paint set right there if you have some food coloring. But what are some other things that that you might have at your house that you didn't think, oh, I could create a painting with this?
That's awesome. Those are beautiful. I mean, just seeing those there, I mean, I was like, oh wow, like I could see that like up on a wall, you know, you're maybe later you can like sell it or something. But yeah, that's really cool. Is there another choice like on your choice board that maybe you can share with us, another thing that we can do?
Yes, one of my other really favorite ones that I think a lot of students are choosing as well this first week, and that is to make a nature mandala.
Hmm.
And I kind of draw two sources of inspiration for the nature mandala. One of them is Andy Goldsworthy. He is an artist that takes natural elements and creates in the land. So he's a land artist. Really great artist to know and to look up. But another one is there is an Instagram account that is also linked to a book, and it's called Morning Altars. And that is also another really great source. But to make a nature mandala, you're going to go on a walk, maybe bring a canvas bag, and you're going to pick up a whole bunch of interesting different textures of things. So it can be petals, it can be leaves of different shapes and sizes, it can be rocks, it can be those sticky pine cones, or gumballs. I don't know what all the things are called. Not a biologist, but I'm just grabbing things that are interesting to me, and I'm going to arrange them in concentric circles. So
Oh,
we're going to use a little math that is involved here, and you're going to arrange them. So you're basically placing them so it's a radial design. So it's balanced from a radial, sort of like the rays of the sun, how it comes out from one center point.
okay. So you get the materials. Do you get a lot of the materials and then you put them, and you're doing this outside?
I have always done it outside. So I have gone on a walk and found the materials and then created one. It could be like on your porch, or it could be on your grass, like you might have a little grassy area. It could be in the driveway, the city streets, whatever you have, like it's a flat surface that you can sort of create. You don't have to have like a large amounts of things. It depends on what you can find. So sometimes some little twigs or berries. You might find smaller things to kind of fill in. And they're just really beautiful. They're just breathtaking.
I can imagine that can also be like, lower your blood pressure a little bit by just concentrating on trying to. I mean, you know, you just change your world by just saying, okay, I'm going to put leaves here. What other things have you found when you've done that?
What other items do you mean?
What other like what has that done for you when you've completed something like that?
Oh, I absolutely love them. I think it's fun to arrange them and then rearrange them so you can get several variations with the same materials. I think that is just absolutely one of the funnest things. So it doesn't go in just one configuration. And then you're right, it definitely is like a nice blood pressure lowering activity to arrange the materials, to have them there, to see what they look like by themselves. Once you pick up a whole bunch of leaves and you're really studying that leaf and picking out, yeah, I want just these 5 leaves around the center point of the star, for instance, like, how do I choose the best one? What does that look like for me?
I have a graphic here on things that could possibly be in our excuses for not doing this. These are the top 3 excuses. If you can talk to these, the first one is I don't have materials, so you may have coffee, you may have beets, you may have just the outdoors. You know, that might be a way to your excuse. I don't have time. That might be another excuse. I don't have talent. That could be another excuse. What do you see this in your students? Where do you see these?
I absolutely see these in all of my students. Especially in my general drawing classes or painting class for students that that are not art majors, that don't consider themselves an artist. The first one, I don't have materials. There are a lot of different things that we can use. As we said, we could just sing. Singing is Music is art. We can dance. We can collect leaves and arrange them in a very artful way. So the I don't have materials, yeah, those art materials are great. And I'm lucky to have a well-stocked studio with them, but let's not let that stop you and be an excuse if you do not have them. Because there's a lot of resources out there on different things that you can do. The I don't have time, this is a very interesting one because some of us find ourselves busier now that we are staying at home and social distancing, and other people have hours upon hours. When it says I don't have time, I really find that this is something that I need to do for me. I have an older sister, and shout out to Missy. She says, like when I am down, when I'm really angry, when I'm just like griping about a whole bunch of things, she'll say like, Charity, you haven't created art in a while. So she knows that it's part of who I am and things that I need to do. It's really good for me. And so dedicating that time, just 30 minutes to an hour a day, could just make such a world of difference. And the I don't have talent, I think it's a very interesting one. Lots of people use that. I think it's very interesting in our society that it seems to be a ready excuse. Like, oh, I wasn't handed out the art gene when the Lord was handing them all out. I didn't get that skill. Or I can't draw a line with a ruler. I hear that one as well. I think that's really interesting because I believe that art is a discipline, and it's something that you can continue to get better at. You can continue to learn as you go through. I don't really consider myself a basketball player. That was not really the genes that I was given. But if I were to do 50 free throws every single day, if I was to work with somebody to learn some tips and tricks, I would definitely get better. So that's the same thing when it comes to art. Like, it's a discipline, and you are going to start to reap those benefits when you are in there, when you're in the thick of it with paint up to your elbows, and you're getting dirty. Besides the fact that it's so much fun, you're going to get better and better at it.
It can be daunting to come up with a meaningful subject. You know, that could be another excuse. Are there any tricks that you use to say, all right, you know, I'm going to do this discipline of art, even though I don't have, like, you know, Guernica? What do I do if I need that, like, extra trick?
Yeah, many people think that the creativity bug is just going to hit them while they're sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And let me tell you, that rarely happens. That creativity is a very elusive creature. I often talk about it as that little squiggly that sometimes we get in our eye. So every once in a while, there's a little squiggly in your eye, and you don't know where it came from. You don't know how to get rid of it, but if you try to look right at it, it runs away. And that is the same with creativity. It is like, it's hard to research because we don't really know where it comes from and where it goes sometimes. But will tell you that it's like an endorphin. So once you're in the studio and you're starting to create things, it seems to find you in the moment. So sometimes it's just hard to actually get in the studio. We have 1,000 other excuses. Most of them are the time ones, like I don't have time. What I do to kind of jumpstart myself is I set a timer. And I know, like, okay, I'm going to go to my studio for an hour. And usually the first day, I just clean stuff up because no one can cook in a dirty kitchen. So I'm just cleaning stuff up and organizing stuff. And when the timer goes off, I leave. And then the next day, I've planned that I'm going to go there for an hour, and I will eventually sort of get seduced by the art materials. And so I welcome you all to get seduced by the art materials. As I'm cleaning, I find them, I'm like, oh, I forgot that I had these markers. And then I start to pull them out and just use them. And oh, they're so juicy and they smell great. And we're going to do that. And we're just going to color, like, don't put any pressure on yourself. Just play around with the materials and just see where that goes.
I love that. There's a question here. They don't. There's a person that doesn't feel that they have very much time right now, and if you had any tips, they want it. They want something to do that they can do while watching Netflix. She doesn't have any space to create. But what can she do in
Oh
limited
my goodness.
space?
I wish that Netflix had a category for like shows you can watch while knitting. Because I need that. Like, I need something that I can watch and like barely concentrate on while I am knitting or listening to other things or doing other things on your phone, you know. So I knit or I crochet. That's something that you can easily do with your hands. It's like some sort of like macrame. You can easily tie some knots and things while you have Netflix going on in the background. I watch a lot of stand-up comedy on Netflix because you don't actually have to watch it. You can just hear it. It's like an audiobook as well, like any of those things. So maybe if you're multitasking, those are a few ideas that you can do.
Okay, that's really nice. That allows us to say, okay, I'm going to allow for that elusive squiggle to appear while on Netflix, and I think maybe being cognizant of that may be really helpful. Just be like, okay, I'm gonna have my pen and paper ready, and I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just watch my thing, but I'm gonna try to use this time to think of one thing that I can create, or one thing I can do while watching Netflix. I think having that option could be a great thing.
I think there are so many great ideas floating around that people are trying to be very helpful with kids out of school, that they're like, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And I think even as a grown up, if you see something you like, just give it a whirl. I see Kimberly said, ooh, macrame. Haven't done that in a while since she was a kid. So a little shout out to macrame.
And Aaron asked, art is different for everyone. How do you get people who might not be interested in what you are doing to join in?
Yeah. So when people see that you are joyful and that you're excited, sometimes they will say, oh, what's going on in there? Let me see if I could do that. Or that person had some success with that project. Maybe I can do that as well. So hopefully, once you start a project, other people are going to see that joyfulness, and they're going to get hit by that creative bug as well, and they're going to want to come follow you. I think that would be the best option.
If you could give us um, just your final thoughts on how we might express hope today.
My final thoughts are to make something. So it doesn't matter if you are singing, if you are talking, if you're dancing, if you're creating something. Don't let any of these excuses stop you. Just go out and make something. It's going to make you feel better, and it's going to distract you from all of the stress. And I think it's going to be good for both you and the world.